Let me show you how to make these joists perfectly level. Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today I'm gonna tell you how to get your joists perfectly level. So if you like this video, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So recently we did a call to action and asked you guys, hey, what do you guys wanna see on our channel? And if you have some great ideas and we haven't covered it, or maybe we haven't covered it in a while, and possibly technology's changed, leave us a comment below and let us know what you'd like to see, and we'll try to accommodate some of those requests. So thank you for that. All right, so what I have here are just some standard joists that we use, 2x8s, pressure-treated hemlock. Where you live, you may not have pressure-treated hemlock. You might have southern yellow pine or pressure-treated pine or some other form of wood that you use to frame your deck with. So part of the problem with today's lumber is it's very inconsistent. It's really wet, some is kind of dry. So in a unit of 2x8, you can have one joist that's 7 1/8 and another that's 7 3/4. Well, that's quite a bit of variance, and it'll make your deck do a roller coaster effect when you lay your deck boards down, especially when you're laying down synthetics like PVCs and cap composites like we do quite often. So I'm going to share a few tips with you today on how we actually keep our decks as flat as possible. They're not perfect because as lumber dries out, it also wants to move and warp. But we're going to share with you some techniques that we use during our builds to help minimize and mitigate a lot of that elevation change. All right, so the first thing that I always do on every deck build is I grade my framing. And I'm just gonna show you on a small example of why we do that and how. These were two like 7-foot boards that I cut in half to make some 4-footers, 3.5, 4-footers, right? And then I bowed them, I crowned them all up like this. Now, if you grade your framing, the first thing I do is I put everything on 2 level areas. I'm happen to use sawhorses today, but with longer lumber, it's probably easier to just set them on the ground on a flat spot with just 2 bunks or stickers or whatever, a piece of lumber, a 4x4, a 6x6. You put one on one end, one on the other end, and you just bow all the boards up and sandwich them all together like this. You just push them nice and tight together. There's gonna be crowns in some of these boards. Any boards that are severely crowned, you may consider setting those to the side because they're always going to be higher in the crown than the rest of the deck, no matter what you do. Unless you have a center beam and you can pull that crown down, awesome. Then the next thing I do is I try to simulate wherever the beam is going to be on just one end of the joist. Basically, let's just assume that this side of the joists are going to be at the house, and this side of the joists are going to be at a beam, and it's going to be a drop beam. So let's say the beam's only 6 inches away from the end of the deck. I want to simulate my beam at 6 inches from the end of the deck so that I can be accurate in the height of all these joists. We're going to grade the framing now. Okay, so when I put a straight edge across these 4 boards, you can see that this board is thicker than the board right next to it. Even though these 2 boards came out of the same board, one end is thicker than the other. But we're only worried about the spot where it's going to sit on top of a beam. So we're going to grade this frame from the thickest board. You can see my 2 outside boards are thicker than the 2 inside boards. So what I do, normally we have 30 or 40 of these sitting in a row. We'll take the thickest board and we'll set it to the side. Then we'll go back and we'll measure again. And you can see right now, okay, so that was the thickest board. So now I have these 2. Now I noticed that when I had this one involved, it was this one, and then this one, and then here's your thinnest board, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shuffle the deck, we'll say. I'm gonna put the next one there, and then this one was the next thickest, so that all my joists now are pretty flat. Now you're not gonna eliminate all of it, but that looks pretty good to me. Okay, then we'll number these from 1 to whatever, and we'll always keep these boards organized to that thickness. Okay, some guys do this by using a tape measure, but I found even when you use a tape measure, you can still be off 1/8 of an inch, which may bug some people and may not bug others, but I'm just trying to show you how to get this as level as possible. So if you want to be as level as possible, you have to be particular about how you do this. So now that we have these boards graded, we'll either take them straight from our pile right to the frame, or we'll put them in a pile so numbered 1 through X until we get in. And then depending if we want to start the deck with the thickest joist on one end, then we lay them all in order from either the thickest to the thinnest or from the thinnest to the thickest. Sometimes I have reasonings for why I might use the thickest board on one end of the deck. Maybe it's pitched or something like that. Usually not so much, but you never know. You know, at least you know you have the option, right? Once these joists are installed, let's just say we're gonna install these joists, you know, let's just simulate 12 inches on center. All right, so once the joists are all attached to the house, then I'm gonna go over to where the beam is, projected however far away from the house. Let's just simulate it's 10 feet. These are 12-foot joists, and my beam's at 10 foot from the house, and I'm gonna double check them. And I can see on this end, these 3 are in pretty good shape. This particular joist right here is not moving with the rest, so that means it's a little low. So I'm gonna put a shim under it and bring it up to height so that it works along with the other joist, so it's close. Depending on how much variance we have on this particular set, I might just leave it. If it's a 32nd, I'm like, I can't even get a shim, a 32nd inch, you know. I use composite shims and they start around a 16th and go up from there, maybe an 1/8 inch. So that might not be feasible to try and shim this, but usually it is. Now, sometimes over the beam, we might have one joist that's like really super high. Like, let's say it's something like this. It could be because of a knot on the bottom side of the joist. It could be the beam has a knot in it or something. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll mark that particular underside of the joist and I'll cut it out with an oscillating tool so that I don't have to necessarily take the joist all the way out. If it's already attached to the house, I just want to raise it up a little bit, use an oscillator on it, cut a little bit of meat out of it, put some end grain solution on it and stick it back down, and then it puts it back into the right plane with the rest of the frame. So some places we're going to shim the beam, some places we're going to shave the joists. I hardly ever shave a beam. I just don't think that's a good idea to shave the beam because you're taking all the treatment off the beam. You could start a premature decay situation when you do something like that, where the water's sitting on top of the beam and absorbing into that spot where you hacked out and took out too much elevation. It'd be better to take it off the bottom of the joist where at least the water has a place to drain away and it's not so much sucking into the bottom of the joist. So now we look good on the house, we look good over the beam, and everything's installed, all our blocking and outside rim joists and all that stuff are in. But the center of the deck is where you may have some crown in some of the joists that are higher than others. If that's the case, then you may have to plane down the center of some of your joists. So we'll take a level, like an 8-foot, 6-foot, 8-foot level, and we'll kind of go around. And if there's any high spots, and you'll be able to tell because the level will kind of go like rock back and forth. And you'll kind of figure out where that area is in between. And then you'll take a power planer or a belt sander or any means you have to efficiently shave the top of a joist down. Once we get it nice and flat, we'll add a little bit of end grain solution, and then we G-tape the entire deck. Waterproof membrane tape goes on top of everything, so it's gonna protect that spot that we just shaved down because it looks a lot nicer on the deck when it's flat versus the roller coaster effect. So once that's done, you're pretty much locked and loaded, and then you're ready to start laying decking. So thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope that helps somebody out there. If it did, don't forget to leave us a comment below and let us know about it. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this video with your friends and family. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.